Thanks, Caleb. My name is Tamara Kalmans. I'm a member of the Board of Directors with the Canadian Students for Sensible Drug Policy, and I'm here today to tell you about an exciting new project that we're unveiling. A saying we hear a lot in the drug policy reform movement is that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Drug education in Canada has consistently relied on a just say no message, and yet youth drug use has gone up. Clearly this approach isn't working, but the government continues to spend money on these ineffective programs. CSSDP members are tired of the same old, ineffective, just say no messages, but we are also tired of sitting back and expecting the government to do something different or effective. This time, we are offering our own solutions in an effort to get people talking and thinking more critically about youth drug education and drug use in Canada. Today, CSSDP is excited to announce the launch of our very own drug education resource, a website that can be found online at www.notforme.org. This is a direct response to the government's recent Drugs Not For Me campaign and their corresponding website www.notforme.ca, which, as Caleb just discussed, fails to engage and empower our youth in so many ways when it comes to the very serious issue of substance use. This website was written and put together by youth and for youth with completely original content that is designed to encourage young people to think for themselves when it comes to drug use, rather than blindly following flashy just say no messages put forward by the government of the day. We encourage all Canadians, particularly youth, to visit our resource, notforme.org, for a refreshing, sensible, and rational approach to youth drug education in Canada. For now, I'd like to give you an idea of what our aims were in the creation of this project. Contrary to what many might automatically think about a website that accepts youth drug use as a reality, prevention is still a key part of our message. It is here, however, that our similarities to the government's Not For Me campaign end. Through its drug education programs, the government aims to prevent illicit drug use of any kind, on the basis that it is inherently bad. We work with a more realistic definition of the word prevention. When we say our website focuses on prevention, we mean the prevention of problematic substance use, rather than the unrealistic goal of preventing all illicit drug use ever. How do we do this? First, and most importantly to us, our drug facts section contains comprehensive information about both illicit and non-illicit drugs, whereas the government's program contains information only about illicit drugs. By including information about non-illicit drugs, such as alcohol, tobacco, pharmaceuticals, and caffeine, youth are able to learn about the harms associated with the use of these substances so that they can make responsible and educated decisions about them. The inclusion of non-illicit drugs also serves to engage those youth who are already using or thinking of using these substances, and offers them methods for using these substances in ways that reduce those harms. These are two important factors, especially considering the high rates of non-illicit substance abuse by youth. Pharmaceuticals are the highest drug of abuse and misuse among youth. Could this be because all their lives they haven't been educated properly about the harms associated with them and other non-illicit drugs? We want to prevent problematic substance use, regardless of whether the substances are legal or not. The second way we promote the prevention of problematic substance use is by including harm reduction information for those youth who have already chosen to use drugs, regardless of the just say no messages that they are blasted with. Teaching harm reduction methods does not encourage or condone drug use. Instead, it treats drug use as a serious issue and reminds youth who are thinking about using drugs that there are very real risks associated with drug use that they should be aware of before engaging in any substance use. Failing to include harm reduction methods would mean failing to engage with those youth who are most at risk for problematic drug use. Do they deserve to be abandoned just because they didn't just say no? Despite decades of abstinence-focused drug education, youth drug use rates have gone up. It's clear that we can no longer rely on programs that promote abstinence only. While we may not want a young person to use drugs, many do anyway. That's a reality. It is far more beneficial to engage with these youth so that a youthful indiscretion does not become a death sentence. Third, we encourage youth and provide resources for them to look critically at their own personal drug use habits and to set their own personal boundaries. We realize that drug use does not necessarily equal drug abuse. Not all substance use is problematic, and we encourage youth to think about their own substance use so that they can recognize and avoid problematic or harmful patterns. Last but not least, in our quest to prevent problematic substance use, we encourage open and honest discussions about drugs, while also discouraging negative judgments and stigmatization towards drug use and drug users. We feel that there are too many messages based on morality and fear in Canada's current drug education programs. They rely too often on dishonesty and exaggerations. This does not encourage honesty, openness, or respect among youth for the messages that are being promoted. As I said, we don't condone or condemn drug use or drug users. In fact, we leave moral judgments completely out of our approach. Instead, we aim to empower youth with the tools and knowledge that they will need to make responsible decisions for themselves. It is hard for young people to be honest and receptive when they feel that they are being judged, either by authority figures or by peers. Open dialogue with youth about drugs can only begin when we talk with youth instead of talking at them. We need to meet youth on their level when it comes to drugs and offer them the honesty, empathy, trust, and respect that will empower them to make sensible choices. We cannot keep spending money trying to reinforce dishonest or unrealistic messages. Youth are smarter than that. We've gotten to the point where we understand the value of teaching safe sex in schools. We need to be teaching drug education in the same honest, realistic, respectful, and trusting way. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so why have previous programs failed? Previous government drug programs?
Sure. Well, our main belief is that the prevention message isn't effective because youth are using drugs regardless of whether we say not to, and drug use is a fact of civilization for as far back as time. So we think that accepting drug use doesn't mean we're encouraging people to use drugs. We're still recognizing that drugs are harmful. We're just teaching it in a more honest way so that youth aren't getting confused by messages that say all drug use is bad, and yet seeing people using medical cannabis or people using non-illicit substances in abusive ways. So previous drug education programs fail because they're not honest and they're not realistic.
And another clear way to show that they have failed is that the rates of youth drug use has continually risen, and the rates of youth drug abuse has arisen, especially in regards to pharmaceutical drugs.
Do you have any statistics?
No, not on hand, but we'd be happy to send you some.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Excellent.